So when I pitched a Pawn Stars and Comic Book Store, that's what got everything moving. But I didn't pitch my friends, and I didn't pitch my comic book store. I was saying, we'll go on a nationwide hunt, find a great comic book store somewhere in America with a very wonderful cast, who'll be great on camera, and conservative as fuck, knowledgeable about the subject matter, and we'll move forward with them. Never did I think about my own backyard, because I was like, I like my friends, but obviously I'm biased. So the word came back that AMC was interested, but they wanted to see a pilot, a presentation. And I was like, well, how do you do a pilot for a reality show? Because it's supposed to be reality. They're like, it's not that real, dude. And I was like, oh, I see. So they said, basically, you shoot it like you shoot a pilot. Like, just shoot something that would look like the show that you're going for. And there wasn't a lot of money to do it, and so Charlie Corwin, who runs this company called Original, he's my partner on it and whatnot, he's the guy that brought me to AMC. He said, look, if we can do it for this amount of money, we can't do a nationwide hunt for the staff now, but if they like the pilot, then we can go looking for it. And I said, well, in a world where we're trying to save money, dude, I actually own a comic book store, so we can shoot it inside that store and save ourselves the location fee, take as much time as we want, get it right. And he's like, that's good. I said, and also in terms of the staff, the dudes that work there, they do this podcast called Tell 'em Steve Dave, and they're very funny, and so every week, like, they're used to talking to one another, so they might be good stand-ins for whatever the show is going to be about, like who eventually the crew winds up in. And they're like, all right, let me listen to the podcast. So Charlie listens to Tell 'em Steve Dave, and he comes back and goes, you're a fucking idiot, man. He's like, this is why your career is never taken off. You can't see like what's in front of you. I said, what do you mean? He's going, this is the show. These guys are weird, and I've never heard anybody like them, and they're very original, and they know their shit, but all they do is make fun of each other, and they insist the other one is gay. He's like, that's a TV show. And I was like, is it? Because I've been living in one, I guess, my whole life then, man. So at that point I said, all right, well, let me ask the guys. And the guys weren't into it. I knew, like, I guess I never thought of them because I knew it was an uphill sell. Walter Flanagan, who's the main guy on the show, he ain't interested in that shit. He don't want to be famous or anything like that. I called him up with great trepidation. I was like, hey, Walt, AMC wants to do a reality show set at the secret click. He hung up, and I didn't get to finish. I called him back. I was like, dude, don't hang up on me. Like a reality show at the Stash. He goes, fuck that. I don't want to be Snooki. So, and I didn't say it to him because I respect his individuality, but I'm like, who don't want to be Snooki? Like, Snooki did very well. She made a lot of money and shit. So I couldn't hit him on that approach. He didn't care about fame or money. But Walter loves the store. He's a true true blue retailer. Like, as long as we've been fans of comics, always talked about, like, his ultimate dream would be to run a comic book store. Not own it, run a fucking comic book store. So that was a very easy dream to make come true for him, like back in '97. I was like, dude, we got a comic book store, run it. And he wouldn't quit his other job at first because he didn't believe it. Like, he was like, this is too good to be true, As if, like, I was like, here's the cure for death. It was very simple. It was like, here's a store, run it. And if he's like, I didn't think it'll ever last. He's like, it's only probably going to stay open for 2 years. And he's kept it running now for 15 years. So much so that he built himself a platform from which to do a TV show that he did not want to do. He created his own hell. So it was kind of sweet. So I said to him, I was like, look, here, think about it like this. If you do Comic Book Men, it's a free commercial for the Stash. And I know that you love your job, and I know you want to see people coming through the doors, because after we got done making Clerks 2, if you're not making any more Jay and Silent Bob movies, then all your Jay and Silent Bob ephemera and the shit that you're selling, people start losing touch with it. They're like, oh, those were movies before. It's just not fresh or relevant anymore. So in the beginning, our store was well buoyed by the Buick Universe stuff. But after we stopped making Buick Universe movies, it became buoyed by sales of comic books and whatnot. It went to being a normal comic book store. So at that point, Walter's gone anything to get more people through the door, because brick and mortar's having a real hard time these days. So at that point, I knew I had him. I was like, it's a free commercial for the Stash. And he was like, ooh, goddamn you. And he was like, all right, do it. He's going, but you'll never get Johnson to say yeah. And Brian Johnson, he too, my friend, he's not a dude that likes to be in front of the camera. And I called him up. I was like, dude, what would you think about doing a reality show at the Stash? And you're there, you're on the show. And he goes, you're asking me to do TV now? I'm fucking as fat as you, And I heard that hurt a lot. So I was like, goddamn, that's big. But he had this bum knee and shit, and I knew he wanted to get his knee worked on, and he didn't have insurance. He stopped carrying insurance. He didn't have a job in fucking years. So I was like, I know you want to fix your knee. Do you do the show? They'll pay you, and you can pay to have your knee fixed and shit. He's like, that's right. There's fucking money. You could make money on this, and I could get my knee healed. He's going, all right. He's going, what'd Flanagan say? And I said, Flanagan, be honest with you, I mean, what do you think? He said, no. He said he doesn't want to be Snooki. And Brian goes, who doesn't want to be Snooki? I said, right, man? He goes, Snooki made a lot of money. I said, yeah, that's what I told him and shit. So he goes, all right, I'm in. Ming and Mike, man, like I could have told them, you're gonna have to give up your firstborn children. They're like, we're in. You know, they were gonna be the easy sell, but Brian and Walter, they were gonna be the uphill battle. So once I got them to say yes, then they had to like sit down and meet the AMC people. And the whole time, they're not selling it. You know what I'm saying? These cats aren't like, please do this show, please do this show. Walter's like, yeah, how are you guys? Yeah, I like The Walking Dead. Can I go back to work? You know, and I guess that kind of indifference is a turn on, because the next call I got was, oh, they love your friends, you know. So I was like, shit, if they love my friends, let's shoot, I guess we'll shoot the pilot with them. So we shot this little pilot presentation with them, and then that's what we presented, and AMC was like, this is the show, bam, we were off and running. So the show that I pitched was nothing like the show that's really on TV. What's on TV is way better. Like thank God I wasn't involved. I was on the other side of the country and they were shooting all the episodes. And I would come in for the podcast wraparounds. But what the show wound up being, and I was so fucking stupid and or stoned to see the obvious, how I easily could have pitched it was like, oh, this is Clerks, the reality series, because that's really what it is. So when they showed me the first episode, I was like, this is Clerks, the reality series. And everyone on staff was just like, would you just fucking realize that now? And I was like, I'll be honest with you, yeah, man. Like, Ming is kind of like Elias and Brian is Randall. And to me, that was awesome because that's how those movies came to be. I'm not an exciting or original guy. I'm not funny by any stretch of the imagination. If you'd ever met me before Brian Johnson and Walter Flanagan, it's forgettable as fucking the next person. I had no opinion. I had nothing to say originally. I hadn't cracked that comedic nut inside me because the things I thought were funny, generally people didn't talk about and shit like that. Like, you know, I'm obviously a big fan of bodily fluids, and that kind of thing was frowned on when we were kids and shit. So when I found a group of friends that were just like, this has become weird, I'm like, yeah, man. Yeah, are we gonna get in trouble for this? You know, and if we are, great, because we're talking about something real. So those cats to me were kind of heroic and shit. The fact that I was just like, if it never goes past the first 6 episodes, I don't give a shit, because at one point or another, whether it works or not, AMC, currently the greatest network on television, the home of Mad Men, The Walking Dead, Breaking Bad, on and on, for one brief shining moment, like, they took a shot on my friends, and like, that to me, that meant more than anything in the world. I was like, I don't give a shit if it goes beyond 6 episodes, we'll always have this weird little ripple in time where somebody was like, let's try it, you know, and one day they'd be like, what a terrible idea, and all we'd have is 6 episodes on DVD, but it's worth the shot, like, why not? So suddenly the episodes air and they fucking bring in ratings. Now, not huge ratings, you know, we're obviously not a fucking, the end of MASH or something like that. I'm so surprised people remember that. Did my heart so good. But the ratings that came in, like off the first episode, you know, I remember talking to the AMC people, and they were like, I said, what were the ratings? And they said whatever it is, the math, I can't do, I'm terrible at that. But I said, what does that mean? They go, 2 million people watch the show. And I said, I got 2 million Twitter followers. And he goes, everybody that has ever liked you watched that show. And that made me feel good. And in this world, 2 million, like, and having like that many people behind you, that's enough to make people go like, all right, we'll give it another shot. So at the end of the day, they were happy with the ratings. We never knew. They never told us like, hey, we're gonna do it again and shit. They were just like, things look good, things are nice. And I read about it in some kind of stock report. They were talking about whatever company AMC is owned by. When they spoke, the president of the network talked about the profitability of 2 shows, and one was Talking Dead, and the other was Comic Book Man. And I was like, oh my God, that's my friend's show. And then I forget, like, I get so geeky when I watch it, I'm like, I know those guys. And then I show up and I'm like, this is even weirder. So for me, it's been, you know, there were some people in the beginning that were like, fuck this show. You know, as with everything I do, there's always some vocal contingent of like, you've ruined everything again, fat boy, you know. And once we got past episode 1, that kind of shit went away, because boys are you know, the boys are pretty entertaining. And there's nothing really like it on TV, and the relationship that they share is kind of different, and we didn't do the weird things like talk at the camera. You know, every reality show does that. We kept it kind of like you were a fly on the wall watching a movie or something. Everything about it, and I can't even take credit for that. I wasn't the guy that said, don't do POV to camera. I did champion podcasting, because I was like, that was our framework. That's where we came from, so it felt like we should honor it. And then there was this weird amalgam of like, on the show we do a podcast that doesn't really exist called Comic Book Men. And I felt weird about that. And right before the show started airing, I was like, we have to do a real version of the show, man. And AMC was just like, it's too late, we're rolling. So we wound up doing this podcast called The Secret Stash, which was like an R-rated version after hours of Comic Book Men. And it was just so much fucking fun. And that's the key to anything, man. Like, you know, a lot of people chase the buck or chase fucking fame and glory. But the older you get, I'm fucking 41. There's obviously less years in front of me than behind. The older you get, the shit that becomes precious, man, is laughter. Anybody that can fucking make you laugh. I read this wonderful article online recently about endorphins, why people like to laugh, why we're attracted to people that make us laugh. Like, you know, people are always like, why does your wife fuck you? I was like, I have no idea, man. Because my dick is small, I don't last long, and I've never made a movie that made more than $30 million, you know. And what it comes down to is she's like Jessica Rabbit. She's like, he makes me laugh, you know. That's all I got. So for me, like, when I'm reading this article, it kind of suddenly, I was like, oh, it makes sense. We're attracted to people that make the endorphins go off in our body. Laughing is the cheapest natural high you'll ever get. And it's, they said it was comparable to the high you get from exercise. I don't believe that shit at all. That's where science goes off the rails into science fiction, you know. But laughing does feel fucking good. Like, the reason I'm doing all these podcasts for all the last few years is I just want to be around people that genuinely fucking tickle my fancy. That it's tough to find people that make you laugh. So when I find them, I glom onto them. I just want to fucking keep that laughter going. You share it with people, people like it. And in the weird world of like, I'm walking away from visual entertainment, you know, I'm trying to walk away from movies and just concentrate on podcasts because I got a body for radio. Goodbye, everybody, you know. And as I try to head out the door, the podcast kind of looped me back into a visual spectrum. Like, Tell 'em Steve Dave birthed Comic Book Men. And then Sminterview, a show we do, and Smoothiola, another podcast I do, birthed the show Spoilers that we do on Hulu right now. Yeah, and it's fun, like, you know, I get paid to do them and shit. I'm obviously not doing it for free, but I don't get paid like a king's ransom. But they leave us alone. Like, these people, Hulu, it's so great to work with. Like, here's your money, go off, do what you want, bring in your friends, make it as goofy as you can. Like, for me, I was like, let's make it like Steam Pipe Alley. Like, that was a show I used to watch on TV when I was a kid. And it was like, let's make it kind of like that. And we went and did it, and that came from podcasts, and that is kind of fun. So all that shit, man, by the time they told us, you got a season 2 of Comic Book Men, I was like, ah, fucking keep it. You know, I don't give a shit. And I was like, wait, no, we'll take it, yeah. And I'll take a 20% increase as well, thank you. No, I'm not stupid, I'm not a communist, I like making money. But it was like, I had reaped the benefits. Everything I wanted had happened. Like, we got the 6 episodes, they were on air, people watched them, people liked them. I loved watching the arc of the characters, if you will, and watching people talk about my friends on Twitter as being part of the TV show. Like, in the beginning, my friend Brian is the large guy with the beard, looks like Alan Moore and shit. He is, in the first episode, people are like, fuck beard guy, who does he think he is? Why won't he leave little Ming alone, you know? Very protective. Episode 2, you start seeing tweets go this way a little bit where they're like, beard guy says some funny shit. He's an asshole, but he's funny, you know. By episode 3, I started seeing tweets that made me laugh because I know the feeling. I agree with their sentiment. They were like, I want to be beard guy. And by the time we got to the end, like, there's this wonderful episode, you know, because Brian's very acerbic and attacks everybody and everything. But you get to episode 6, and there's the tattoo episode, and Brian gets a tattoo on his arm, like this massive fucking sleeve of his niece, Sage, and she's on a tricycle, but the person did her as a zombie, so she's dead on a tricycle. You know, and she's a Down syndrome kid, so there's that element as well. So people were like Walter attacked Brian going, you can't put your fucking niece on your arm as a zombie. That's in poor taste, man. She's a Down syndrome kid. And then Brian's argument was like, well, what, if she wasn't Down syndrome, it would be in better taste? Like, we're gonna come out, but we started shooting, and Walter also didn't want to get on a plane. He doesn't fly or anything. Like, the last time he flew was on the way home from Mallrats. There was some turbulence, and he was just like, that was the worst disaster since Mallrats. So, he won't get on a plane or anything. So they wound up starting to shoot the season just last week, and they got through all week doing transactions and stuff like that. And I hear they're having a great time. There's a little piece I put together, they shot a shout out, but we put together this kind of 5-minute Smodco trailer, like all the shit that we're working on, and they're in it. So since you brought them up, we might as well play that real quick, and then we'll go back to Q&A.